Okay, welcome back. Okay, so we're very lucky that Alice has managed to pop down and join us. So we will hand over to Alice, thank you, to just provide any points of interest that you'd like to highlight and to take any questions. So thank you so much for coming in.
Is that it? Yeah. Okay. Right, yes. Well, thank you very much and good evening, community board members. I have a PowerPoint presentation. It's quite straightforward, and what we're wanting to do, well, what I'm doing today is giving you an update of Plan Change 25, which is shelter belts and crop protection structures. And it's an update from when we were in front of you about September last year, just at the cusp of the public engagement period. So in terms of the key changes is what I'm going to set out tonight for you with regards to the outcomes of the engagement and further research that we've done over the past 6 months. Now, the full suite of recommended changes, along with the reasons for those, have already been provided with you to you within the information pack. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have on any of the detail in that pack as well. Just as a, sorry, I just moved my. So just as a quick recap, as I said, we had an engagement that started September, went through to October. Using the Have Your Say platform. We received over 70 responses to that online. We also have undertaken presentations to both our joint management agreement partners and NETAO with regards to cultural value aspects for draft Plan Change 25. And we've held meetings with both landowners and the horticultural industry and network utility operators. My colleague and I have also done some site visits with regards to properties adjoining the existing orchards within the district, and also visited the actual orchards as well. So we've seen from both sides and from the road. So with regards to the key changes, I've broken it up into 3 stages. One is artificial crop protection structures, then we'll move to shelter belts, and then we'll move to sort of some other collective changes to highlight for you. I'm happy to take questions at any point. But I'll proceed with crop protection structures first. So a key change is the is to reduce the proposed 15-metre setback to 6 metres from roads and internal site boundaries. Just to highlight that while the feedback from the community groups supported a 15-metre setback, the industry and growers raised concern that the 15-metre setback was excessive and would result in a loss of productivity and be contrary to the National Policy Statement for Highly Productive Land. And reaching the decision that we staff have come to with regards to the recommendation to reduce the setback, we've considered the need to retain the openness of the rural environment while still enabling the use of highly productive land within the district. The use of land for productive purposes is not necessarily compromised by excessive setbacks. That setbacks of existing consented artificial crop protection structures were also reviewed, and they were mainly on average about 6 metres. Visual mitigation offered by limiting the vertical cloth colour to dark green and black, and the operational need to maintain orchard structures and shelter belts from within site boundaries. We've also gone and had a review again of what other district plans have done, and 15 metres is actually on the high end of what setbacks are required by other district plans. In talking to the network utility operators, we've also recommended a 10-metre setback from both electricity lines and the gas pipeline. But these setbacks do not replace the existing rules within the district plan relating to activities in the proximity of the national grid high voltage transmission lines.
I just want to have a chat about that particular one. You've got the horizontal roof material provide for transparent as a colour option. The word transparent actually in the Oxford Dictionary only says that you can see through it. So clarity is kindness. I've heard a counsellor say, I think clarity is kindness. So are you actually meaning that it's clear or colourless, which is what I sort of ascertained from the picture, or because in the future there could be tints put into the transparency like a tinted windscreen on a car.
You've jumped ahead of my
Oh,
presentation, which is fine. Great question, great question. But if I can move through, Madam Chair, I think that will answer your question.
Yep, if you can answer it later. Yep, I think you did say that you were happy to take questions, so maybe
Yes.
we hold the questions to the end so that we don't interrupt the flow.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So moving on to cloth colour. So the controlling of specific cloth colour continues to be an important matter to manage visual amenity effects within the rural environment. And we've got, in terms of what was circulated last year in terms of proposed provisions, we broke that colour management to vertical or side cloth and horizontal cloth. So taking the vertical and side cloth colour, we're recommending to continue to limit that to dark green and black. These colours blend more easily into the environment and reduce the potential for visual amenity issues. However, we are aware, as what the screen shows, that there are other colours used, such as white, light green, which I don't have a photo of the light green up to show you, but it's quite fluorescent, and blue. The blue is an example that I took having a drive around Western Bays. On the vertical sides, it's considered that the use of colour that is more vivid, as these we've just talked about, should actually be considered through a resource consent process and not be permitted as of right. With regards to the vertical side cloth colour, we have recommended one additional exemption though, and that being that when two growing blocks are on the same property and adjoining each other, that when they face one another internally, the cloth could be any colour because it's not going to be seen from the outside of the orchard. And this will allow the orchardist to apply the optimal growth colour internally within the orchard without causing adverse effects from on the adjoining properties, is what we propose. Moving to transparent cloth. So this is an example of transparent cloth and white cloth. So took these photos, they're both local, and the transparent cloth, you can, as you said, you can see through it from when you're inside of the crop protection structure. From the outside, it has an appearance of a white, but not as stark as the white of the picture on your left. Now, in terms of introducing transparent cloth as a colour, yes, it's not a colour per se, but that is the term that the industry uses. It's not pigmented, and it is being used particularly, I should say, for kiwi fruit and the new orchards that are now being covered. One of our site visits, we were talking to one of the installers, and that was the advice that we had been given. It's preferable, we understand, for kiwi fruit in particular because it allows more light through, which is quite obvious through the pictures. But another crop, for instance, like avocados, we understand would still use a white. So in terms of proposing the horizontal colours, it would be white, transparent, dark green or black. Just to give you another example, the next picture shows the use of transparent and white horizontal cloth material presently in the Kaipaki and Parallel Road area. And so there is a bit of a difference when you see it like that. The other thing to remember is that Plan Change 25 is relating to horticulture, not specifically kiwi fruit, which means that the rules need to be able to balance different crops that may be grown within our district. Moving through to shelter belts. So there was widespread concern with regards to the proposed shading rules that we outlined in September last year. In discussion with Council's transport team and feedback from both rural community and industry groups, there was a preference to have setbacks and height controls for shelter belts instead. As a result of that, we are now recommending, and we have recommended to Council that that there be a setback and height provision introduced through Plan Change 25 and that the shading rule be deleted as an option. So those setbacks as shown up here would be 4 metres setback from roads and internal boundaries, which will still allow the maintenance of the shelter belts within the property boundaries. And then a height of 6 metres. Talking to the utility operators again, for the gas transmission pipeline, it would be 6 metres, and that's using their growing guideline that they have online. And then electricity line setback would be, again, 10 metres, and again, not trumping the present rules for the national grid. Okay. In terms of the height, as I've identified on the screen, we are providing a bit more clarification between what is a hedge and what is a shelter belt. And through the definition of a shelter belt, introducing that clarification. So anything under 3 metres would not be considered a shelter belt. Anything between 3 and 6 metres would be considered a shelter belt. Anything above 6 metres would require a resource consent. Maintenance was also a feature of our feedback, and there was question about the ambiguity used around the use of the word vegetation and what that would actually mean in terms of the rules relating to removal. What we've done now is we've added clarification into those rules relating that vegetation for those rules is defined as branches, limbs, trimmings and fallen trees. So trying to avoid a situation where a leaf or a twig may come into play. Other key changes is that within our landscapes and view shafts that are identified in the district plan, we had set out colour controls there similar to what was in the rural zone. Through the feedback, it was quite clear that we had missed a step really in terms of the colour provisions that the district plan has already for buildings. Artificial crop protection structures are buildings, and so to avoid any conflict there, what we have done is we have now aligned rules relating to artificial crop protection structures with those applying to buildings within the landscape and view shaft areas. We have also, through discussion, the industry has identified, and we have seen through our own site inspections, that in addition to artificial crop protection structures and shelter belts, there's also artificial screens and crop support structures. And it is important that the district plan also recognises those structures as being part of an orchard, so that there is the avoidance of any unintended consequence of a resource consent being required for the likes of a crop support structure. As you can see by the photos, the crop support structure is very quite self-explanatory. It's where the crop's grown and supported. The example is kiwi fruit. We have proposed a height limit of 6 metres. Different crops have different height requirements, but 6 metres is within the envelope of an artificial crop protection structure, and anything higher could go through a resource consent. You'll also see the artificial screens on the slide as well. We aren't recommending white as a colour. We're recommending that they be dark green or black, but that one is an example. You could go and have a look at it on Parallel Road. The artificial screens, again, would be a maximum height of 6 metres, and they are used mainly, sorry, got my tongue tied there. They are used mainly within an orchard or on the exterior, but we understand that there can also be a mix. Orchardists can use them and artificial crop and shelter belts all in the same situation. Okay, so next steps, just quickly, as I said at the start, we're presently updating all the ward committee and the community boards. We are also in the midst of finalising the draft set of planning documents that will then go to the iwi authorities as required by the Resource Management Act for review. And we have, as it says there, intentions to notify the second quarter of 2025. The next SPMP meeting that we can, I'm just checking my dates, yes, the next SPMP committee that we intend to take a report to seek adoption of the plan change for notification would be in June of this year. Happy to take questions.
Okay, so excuse me, have we got any questions for Alice? That was very in depth, so I'd be surprised if we've got too many. Jill.
It was really interesting reading all the work you'd put into this. What a huge amount of reading and a lot of work. So thank you. Just out of interest, 2 quick questions. So when the owner of the land has crops on it, do they have to ask permission for the crops to be on the land? You know, like, so if it's a dairy farm, you don't have to ask for how many cows you can have on the farm. But if you had a kiwi fruit orchard on your land, do you need any permission at all from council for that?
No, you don't. It's deemed a farming activity, and farming activities are permitted. So the draft plan change 25 is to provide the wraparound and clarification of the requirements that the likes of an orchard needs to make that quite clear that it is an anticipated farming activity in our district.
Thank you. And the other question was, I just recently on the last couple of slides, you mentioned that your preference is that black for the covering for the plants. So black attracts the heat, which can burn the fruit. So why would the darker colours be more acceptable?
So again, we have taken our guidance from both the industry and what other district plans provide. So in talking to the industry and the orchardists, white is their optimum colour or the transparent. Okay. But they do recognise that there is an amenity issue with white. So dark green and black are being used now on the sides of artificial crop protection structures.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thanks for all the work you've done.
Sally?
I was very impressed with all the work you've done as well, and I particularly enjoyed looking at the submissions and then the responses to the submissions. But I'm still back on transparency. I understand that that's how they talk about it at the moment. Could there be clarification that it is non-pigmented? Because in the future, and future proofing the document, there could be tints added, and then are we left wide open that there is now tinting in the transparency? So a clarification of the non-pigmentation is a possibility. That's my only, on that one.
That's a good point, and we have asked the industry to provide us with some. Maybe there's we have asked to see if there's actual code numbers for these colours, for instance, instead of the generic tinting. So we're still in discussion with them about what that might mean, but that is a good point to take on board. Thank you.
Anyone else got any further questions? Okay, well, thanks again, Alice. That was really well done, very comprehensive, and certainly very impressed by the amount of effort that you and your team have gone to talk to the industry, get out and talk to the farmers, orchardists, etc., and get some really good feedback. And it all makes good sense. So thank you, and good luck with the next few steps of getting it across the line and all finished. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Just to remind that it's really just the start. Once the proposed district plan, the proposed plan change is notified, then people will be able to make further formal submissions to that. So that then moves into the formal process. So we're really just at the start. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we now move on to this bit's going to be a little bit tricky because we still can't, we still can't hear Melissa or Kirsty. So the plan is that we will receive the report. If anyone has any questions in regard to the information that was in our agenda, we can pass it on to Jo and she will email them through.
I could try and chat to them online and then give their answer.
Or we could, or we could, if it's not too big a question, we could use a chat if we have any questions. So what we'll do is we'll receive the report. So that the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board receives the report of Melissa Russo, Manager Strategy, titled 2025-34 Long-Term Plan Progress Report. So I'll move that. Can I have someone to second that? Jill? All in favour? Against? Carried. So from the information that you have in front of you in your agenda, does anyone have any questions? It was fairly explanatory, so unless you've got a few curly things that have come from that. Might be getting let off the hook easy tonight, Melissa. So has anyone got anything? Presume Lou won't. No? We're all happy? That's pretty clear, isn't it? Okay, that's super easy. Thank you very much for being available for questions, just in case we had any. So that means we can move on to item 7, which is the Treasury report on pages 161 to 163. And we'll receive that the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board receives a report of Nada Milne, Financial Accountant, titled Treasury Report for the period ended 31 January 2025. So I can have someone to move that, please. John, second. Kane, all in favour? Against? Carried. Right, so are there any questions in regard to the Treasury report or comments? I just had a question. What happened about that money from Pack and Save?
So
we find out?
Yep, so you'll see in the Treasury report.
Oh, did I miss it? Should I have seen
that the
Sorry.
revenue, just on so just on the first page, revenue, Te Awamutu Pack and Save
Oh, there's two,
donated
sorry.
$2,000 for
Yep. Cool.
Profile battery.
Thank you. I was blind. I just hadn't heard back from you after, so I thought, oh, I need to remember to ask. Yes, you are quite right. Okay, anyone else have anything that they just wanted clarified? I'm just blind. So if there's nothing further, okay. We can move on from the Treasury report to item, oh, what are we up to? 8. On page 164, which is board members' reports and discussion from meetings attended on behalf of the Te Awamutu Community Board and Kihikihi Community Board. So has anybody been out and about since we've seen you last? Might as well start down the far end with Sally and we'll come this way.
I went to the EPA on Thursday and just to listen and to learn. I did stand up and introduced myself. Apparently that wasn't quite the right thing because Kane gets to talk, but my apologies if I've done anything untoward out of not knowing. I do know that Kane has got the resolution to speak at the submission hearing. I did not mention our submission at all. So, and I know he's aware that he has to let them know by the 6th of March. But what did come out of it is, or what I learnt or took from it is that there are 1,600 to 1,700 submitters and that the submissions have to be read by the experts, the committee, and that they don't want 1,600 to 1,700 submitters all talking about the same thing and repeating time and time again to save time and money and everything else. So it was a very interesting day and it was good to see some council staff there. Since then, I have received an email that was written to the Prime Minister, and through the chair, I was just wondering if I could have permission to read the email that I received.
Yeah, sure.
I'll just get it up. Be with me. It's not like the sound. Here we go. And I have had permission from the person that wrote it. So it's to the Prime Minister and it was written and it was also CC'd into various others. I am a local resident and business owner with interest in sheep, bees, dairy cattle, grazing, building, property development and property investment. And I believe our family have contributed significantly to the local and national community and economy over the years. However, I am currently very disappointed in the way in which our community and our companies are suffering as a result of the waste to energy proposal. To take a quote from an earlier submission, you can roll a turd in glitter, but it's still a turd. On the 17th of August 2024, the Minister for the Environment called in the resource consent application for the incinerator. This means it will be decided as a proposal of national significance under the Resource Management Act 1991. At today's pre-hearing EPA meeting, I understood that the Board of Inquiry does not have the authority to commission or request the applicant supplies comprehensive independent reviews, reports for all of the impacts highlighted in the submissions and all of the issues raised by councils and other authorities, even though this is not a permitted activity under the current district plan. For example, the key issues raised by Waipa District Council, Fonterra, Waikato Thoroughbred Racing Board, Fens, Tainui, and even their own submission. And then there's a link. In addition, other areas for independent reporting would include hazardous substances, risk, likelihood and consequences, including fire, explosion and floods, economic development and impact locally and nationally as highlighted by Fonterra, human health, land and water contamination, including the management of collected, used, contaminated water, climate change and impacts, and air quality. My question is, how do we expect the Board of Inquiry to make an informed decision on something of such local and national significance without this information? I appreciate that there is a process to follow, But as the leader of our country, I am asking you if you are prepared to step in and review this as the potential impacts and risks to our country highlighted by Waipa District Council, Fonterra, Fens and Tainui and hundreds of other submissions are massive and, in my opinion, something that warrants intervention. To me, this is more important than whether or not classic cars get warranted every 6 months or every year, and deserves a comprehensive review and a national strategy. And this particular person is happy to discuss and looks forward to positive response that puts an end to this ludicrous proposal, in their opinion, so we can all get on with helping to turn the economy around and improving everyone's quality of life. So I just thought that was a very interesting email and something for the community board and everybody to just sit with. And then the other thing I have done is I have attended the Michael Connett tour. I unfortunately wasn't able to attend in Cambridge on the 5th, so I went to his Hastings presentation, and he is the acclaimed US lawyer who won the federal case proving fluoridisation poses an unreasonable risk to health. I also attended at Parliament when he presented a 20,000 signed petition to the New Zealand First Party. And this tour, just like to point out, was all about the case he won in the States about neurotoxicity. So it's no longer simply about teeth. This is about neurotoxicity, and it's been proven in the state courts. And that's what I've been up to.
Cool, you've been busy. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
Lou?
Yeah, we had our normal e-waste collection. Went very well, probably one of the biggest, volume, and one of the most profitable we've had for quite some time. Noticeable that the batteries are increasing in volume quite exponentially, actually. We're getting more and more, and I'm actually looking perhaps at clearing that site probably twice a week now. So it's keeping me pretty busy. And just a notice to everybody that we have it next Sunday. So I didn't send an email out. I thought I'd see you all. So Sally's already indicated attendance, and same place, same time. Really appreciate it if you turn up. I think this is great. The only thing I'd like to mention, and Ange, I hope I'm not stealing from you, but this is Urban Miners. They're looking at removing themselves from the auspices of the Rotary clubs, and they're looking at creating a charitable enterprise where they can actually become separate from the Rotary Club and then employ part-time staff, because the fact of employing people and also organising contracts is getting more complex as we're getting more product. So I can see the logic of that on the grounds that dealing with just a voluntary organisation is a bit difficult for some of these commercial enterprises. So if we can get something that's far more in place, I think all honesty, I think this is one of the best things we do on the ground. The amount of volume that we save on a monthly basis is quite significant. And I did see the actual figures. Were you there before Christmas when they gave us the figures at their Christmas do?
Oh, no.
No, it was quite amazing. We're talking about 50 tonnes plus of product. That's just out of Te Awamutu. We're not talking of Cambridge here. So I think we've done well. And the amount of volume that we put through in batteries, and I'm talking of some of these times over 140 to 180 kilograms of collected batteries. So, on a monthly basis. So we're dealing with some pretty big issues there.
It's like trebled, eh?
Yeah, it is. Oh, it's huge. Yeah. I actually wonder where we increase the size of the containers. I talked to Jeremy about it, and they actually sometimes pour them on the floor. I got bags on the floor and everything around there.
Okay, we might have to have a look at that. I might make a note of that.
Can I just ask you, Lou, is it going to be in the same place? Because that area's been all cordoned off for a few weeks outside TA's Fort for new pipelines.
That cordoning is actually all gone. No, I haven't seen that. It's all finished.
It has all finished.
Yeah.
I was only talking to Linda this morning. I didn't drive past, and she said they're going to be coming and going,
So. They are, but further down, where we operate we're up to what used to be the old United end of the sports club. So operate in that area. So we've actually, and we operate on the roadside anyway, so that we would have, but they don't have all this, anything there. They've filled in the trench.
Just before we move to John, just while we were talking about the urban miners, I did just note down that the last collection, they collected $1,397 worth of e-waste, and there were 60 vehicles. So we were quite busy with lots of little stuff really, this time. Couple of big ones, but yeah. And I also just wanted to mention quickly that I flicked an email off to Mark Hanlon to just to say thank you on the behalf of the community board, and that I couldn't see that there should be a problem with us continuing our support as a community board. However, I did point out it was an election year and it would be up to the new community board how that looked going forward, but also just to thank him for the immense amount of work that him and the Cambridge Rotary have put in to make Urban Miners Incorporated basically a ongoing enterprise that's helping our district. So yeah.
One other thing I can add, I was speaking to Jeremy Jeremy Bennett at Pack and Save, and we'll have continuity of some funding from them. So we might be able to apply for it every 6 months.
Cool. John.
I helped at Urban Miners the other week, for the day. Other than that, I've been running around family stuff and things, so had a nice Christmas, and I hope you all did too. So it's me for now. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Jill?
I haven't done anything.
That's all right. You're allowed to rest.
Yeah, so I helped put on the event for Michael Connett in Cambridge. It was extremely successful. There were 200 plus people there to hear Michael speak. What people don't understand, it cost $20,000 to bring him here and to get him around the country, and he's an international expert. We had two, and I know people are busy and they couldn't make it and that sort of thing, but we had one counsellor there for half the time. So it was a real shame. Good news is we recorded the Wellington event, and that's going to be available in about a week's time. Big news is the petition was accepted by New Zealand First, and the councillors will be interested to know that New Zealand First policy is to bring it back to council. It's exciting times. So watch this space, it's very interesting. Florida Surgeon General has been calling it public health malpractice, and he has been speaking basically to councils through Florida stopping fluoridation now. Utah State Senate just voted to stop fluoridation as an entire state. So it's really moving, and it's something that, we're hopefully reaching some sort of tipping point. Whangarei District Council is seeking an interim injunction to stop fluoridation from starting there. Their date is very soon, and I'll leave it at that. So I won't say too much more, but I'm aware of stuff. So that's all happening. Just want to congratulate Lou on the Urban Miners. It's fantastic that you've really led that, Lou, and congratulations on that. Thank you.
Okay, so I've just got a few things I wanted to raise with everybody. So I have received which I was hoping to be able to go through, but my internet for Waipa guests seems to have died. I'll just check it again to see if it's decided to come back or not. But no. No, it's nothing to do with Mark. I should have printed them all out, I suppose.
That one's come back.
No, but I haven't got the one that I'm allowed to log into.
I don't have other one either.
All right, I'll just talk to it for now and I'll forward it on to everybody. So my first one was I've received a letter from a Kiki resident expressing concern around the Kihikihi cycleway. And she made a number of interesting points, one of which was that she went right through the submission and commented how many people were against the extent, like what's happened with the cycleway. She made the comment that the questions didn't really enable people or allude them to what was actually going to be built. And, like there's nothing we can do now about this, but as a community board, I'd like us to think about what we can try and facilitate to prevent it from happening in the future. It's something that in my 9 years on the community board, I see repeated over and over, where yes, in essence, the community has asked for X, but we're not getting the same as what we're asking for. So somewhere in there, we're getting a miscommunication or a mismatch. And, I don't want to pour cold water on what is a beautiful cycleway, but outside of the people that live at the end of Rolleston Street, where the trucks have been stopped coming Sheehan Street through Rolleston Street, I'm really sorry to say I haven't had one single positive piece of feedback about that cycleway. Everybody from people not being able to get vehicles around roundabouts, the massive inconvenience and trouble it's caused for rural contractors, people having to drive round Bernard tonight saying that, trucks are going up no exit roads, and I imagine it's not very easy turning a big truck around in a no exit street. It's just on and on and on, and it's really sad to see the amount of money that we've spent with the best intention, and that it's not meeting the need of our community. So it's not the place now to get into a big discussion about it, but it is definitely something I would like us to put some thought towards. Thank you for your feedback in regard to the motocross email that we received. I haven't heard back from Isaac yet. I did write back to him to ask if he was involved with the local motocross, either here in Te Awamutu or Tauranga. But I haven't heard back from him, so hopefully we will before long, and then maybe we can have a look or point him in the right direction. I'm not quite sure whether maybe he has gone down that path, but he's more looking at just a place that's available to ride a motorbike. But I'm not quite sure where we go if that's what he's after.
Just
Lou,
to
did you?
reply to that quickly, to join the motorcycle clubs, if you want to be competitive, that's certainly the way to go. North King Country or Te Awamutu are probably your best. But if you want to just go riding, a lot of the schools and that have after Christmas have trail rides. So trail rides, you'll see them advertised, they're in the paper. So, they're available. But just to have land, the biggest factor is here is for all of us is the health and safety and the liability. So you let someone come on your land and ride around and fall off, hurt himself, you've got a liability problem.
And that is where, as you say, the big part of the problem lies. But I just wanted to update you and let you know where that was. Has anyone had any feedback in regard to the parking? So we've got that extended parking times, and I've had a couple of people have told me that they're liking it. And I've also had a couple of people comment about the fact that there's 3 half-hour parks outside Paper Plus, which they think is a little bit of an overkill. So just wondering if anyone else has had any feedback at this stage.
I've certainly had feedback on Moody Street, and other areas that people are saying it's more relevant to what we need in there. We're also negotiating at the moment through seniors with mobility parking or disability parking, and we've got that being investigated, having a meeting with having one up at the RSA end. So that's actually working. We need where there's an empty shop, it used to be the hair shop up the top of the Alexandra there by the RSA. They might go allocate 2 parking spaces for disability parking. What I'm trying to get to everyone was that disability parking needs width so you can get wheelchairs, etc. out for those that have them. So you can't just have a normal car park with yellow lines on it. It's got to be wider.
Okay, yeah, that was brought up at our parking meeting, and we're also looking forward to seeing a loading zone put beside the disabled car park by the, what's that thing called? The sharing shed. Sorry, I was having a mental block. So that then that way anyone particularly people delivering goods to the sharing shed, aren't going to get a massive $750 fine for parking in the disability car park.
Good on them.
So that'll be good to see that.
Did you notice walking in that we have allocated a disability car park in the front of the council here?
I thought that's been there for ages.
No, the width of it, they've actually widened it.
Oh, okay.
Because as I said, it's not a disability park because you have two
Yeah.
yellow lines, but you can't get a wheelchair out.
No, exactly. Oh, so that's good to note. So I'm just going to make a note of that, widened at council. Okay, what else did I have on my wee list of things? I did the last collection, had a quick chat about the parking. Be really good if we could, maybe if you're talking to people, just ask and get some feedback, because it'd be nice to be able to pass that on to Brian and Rachel. They were super helpful, and they've made this whole little trial super easy. It's really been a pleasure working with them and being able to get something across the line there. I've got the War Memorial Park meeting tomorrow. So we're due for a catch up with Brad and his team. So I think Lou and John and Julia coming, will be attending that tomorrow afternoon. The Ohapo sign, sorry, I'm just going to jump back to the seats. I've sent everybody some suggestions from Mark in regard to the seats and pricing that up. I also wanted to let you know that as a result of the article in the TA News, Dan from Mitre 10 Mega gave me a call, and he's kindly offered to pay for all of the materials, bolts, paint, etc., to be able to fix all of those seats. So basically, all of those seats can be restored at no cost. And there are, Mark and Peter have said they're happy to do the work, or we could might have to get a official builder, but the offer is there. So we will follow that up tomorrow in the meeting.
Just a quick thing, have you got the agenda for tomorrow?
Yeah,
Did you notice that your name's down? to support
about
information
trees, yes, I'm
about the
chasing
trees?
that up.
So just make sure.
Yeah.
The other thing I just wanted to raise about tomorrow was that we're also looking to set a date for the unveiling of the bridges and panels. So
Yeah.
that will be critical, that we get that date, because we've actually got Easter and Anzac Day and everything coming up. So we will need to coordinate that.
Yeah, and they need to do some cleaning up. I see there's graffiti on the ends of, I think, at least two of the bridges.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay, what else did I have here? I also attended the local Waters Done Well workshops. That was really interesting, and it was great being able to hear both groups, so the Hamilton and Huntly or Waikato district proposal and reasons why they've gone together, and then to hear from the group that we're going, well, that the councillors have indicated they'd like to go with, being the smaller district ones, Waitomo, Otorohanga, Matamata. Who am I missing? Hopel? Yeah, Hauraki, it was really, really good, and I was particularly impressed with the guys from the rural group, some of their more lateral thinking around keeping our waterways clean and how to do that in an affordable, sustainable manner. It was well worth being able to be there. So I was pretty lucky to get to go along to that. So hopefully when it comes time to our submissions, I can offer some helpful information around that as well. Just wanted to make sure that you were all aware that Debs has sent us some information around the submissions for, what do I want? The long-term plan submission and Lake Naroto. and the local water's done well, because these are going to all end up in our March agenda, and we need to be able to make some decisions. So to be able to get that reading done in advance, she's been very good to us and sent that out all already. So I think they went out yesterday, did you say?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's that. I think, the Ohapo sign. So I've started some progress on that. I've been in touch with Brian just to check the traffic management situation for that site. And I've approached Softwash just to find out and get a quote on doing a soft wash, because after discussions with Brian, we felt that it's not a good idea to get out there with the water blaster, because if pieces fly off or the water blaster, you got it in the wrong direction, you could give someone hell of a fright to start driving past in their car, and we don't want to cause an accident. So I will hopefully be able to give you another update of some more progress on that next time. So I think that's me over and out. Does anyone think of anything else, John?
This is from Bonnie, memorial unveiling. At present, she's picked 27th of March, 7 a.m.
Sorry, what's that for?
It's from unveiling of the plaques at Memorial Park. At present, and get confirmed tomorrow. Bonnie told
Which
us.
plaques though?
The Army, the Navy, and
Oh,
27th of March,
okay, right.
7 a.m. I asked why, and she said because the sun's coming up.
Okay.
Whatever, but she'll confirm all that tomorrow.
Okay, so who's confirming that?
Bonnie.
Oh, right,
So it's
okay.
an early hour.
Okay, so tentative date. Okay, righto. Let me go back to my sheet. Right, if there's nothing further, the date of our next meeting, which is item 13, will be here in the council chambers at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, the 26th of March, 2025. We will now do our closing karakia, whakamutanga, kua mutu a mātou mahi, mō tēnei wā, mana kitia mai mātou katoa, o mātou hoa, o mātou whānau, ai o ki te aorangi. Our work is finished for the time being. Protect us all, our friends, our family. Peace to the universe. Meeting closed at 8:40.